Hello, students. Once again, I welcome you all. As you know very well, presently we are dealing with Search for a Stranger, written by Gordon S. Livingston. And I think in the last 4 to 5 periods or so, we completed a considerable portion of this lesson. And now you are very well familiar with the author Gordon Livingston and the search that he initiated for his own mother. Yesterday, that is in the last period, I talked about the positive efforts put in by Gordon Livingston in order to get a couple of new leads in the search of his mother. In fact, when he approached the Department of Education, after searching for the whole day, when he realized that there was no further lead about his mother, but before leaving the premises, he happened to look at a very old file which was marked with a title like academic records. And the author thought that let us try for one more file, probably the last file. And he was fortunate enough that he could find the details of his mother, that is Anne Simmons Cardle, and the couple of entries were also found over there, like his mother had received a master's degree in education. She completed it in 1952, and the name of the college from where she got the degree was also mentioned. That particular file was the last ray of hope for the author, and as soon as he came to know and read out the details, he realized that he is one more step ahead in the search of his mother. Now I continued page number 38, paragraph number 2. I wish that everybody should go through the text available right in front of you. Let us look at that. From a phone booth, I called the college alumni office and asked if Anne Cardle's address was on their current alumni letter mailing list. I'm sorry, sir, but the last correspondence this office had from Miss Cardle was over 10 years ago from Natch. She may be deceased. So as soon as the author got another lead in the search for his mother, immediately he approached a local phone booth. He called the college number, especially he inquired with the alumni office and wanted to find out whether Anne Cardell was in touch with them, if at all he could really retrieve the address of his mother, he would be able to easily access her or meet her. But the person who received the call from the another end, that is from the alumni office, said that for the last 10 years or so, Miss Cardell is not in touch with them. They had her details which were available with them 10 years before or so, and she is from Natchez. Probably, according to the person, official, she might have been deceased. Back at the airport, I filled my flight plan for next day. The phone book at the Natchez airport showed 6 Cardells, none of them Anne. The first one listed was Alfred Cardell Jr. When he answered the phone, I said, "My mother knew an Anne Cardell back in college. I promised her that if I ever came to Natchez, I would look her up. Did you ever know Anne Cardell?" See here now. Another thin lead was available for the author in order to search his mother, and that lead was the alumni office had an address which was updated by Anne Cardell before 10 years, and according to that particular address or the detail provided, that time she was at Natchez. It is one of the cities over there. So immediately the author came back to the airport. He took his flight, that is, he has his own personal plane, and immediately started for Natchez. After the arrival at Natchez airport, he started searching his mother's name in the local telephone directory, but he could not find anybody by the name Anne. But again there was one more ray of hope, that there were 6 Cardells mentioned in the telephone directory. The first one listed was Alfred Cardell Jr. So of course, with a lot of expectation, the author called the very first number named Alfred Cardell Jr. and the author told over the phone that his mother knew an Anne Cardell back in college, and the author also promised her that if he would ever come to Natchez, he would definitely look for her. So then he asked a question, "Did you ever know an Anne Cardell?" Now you see, from the another end, who responded, "She is my aunt," he replied. Okay, actually, some gentleman received the phone call and replied, "She is my aunt." He replied, "She lives in Savannah." Now you see, our author was really very lucky. Every step that he was laying in search for his mother, that was successful. Wherever he made an enquiry, fortunately he was getting one more lead, and gradually he was very close to the destination. The person who received the phone call clearly told that Anne Cardell was his aunt, and that time she was living in Savannah. "I would appreciate her address," I said, as calmly as I could. "I just may be in Savannah sometime soon." I was 7 in the evening when I landed in Savannah, parked the Cessna, and stepped into a phone booth. The phone rang twice. "Hello?" See now. Now your author has to fly from Natchez to Savannah as per the inputs received from the person who received the call. He was very close to the destination. In a very humble voice, the author requested the person whether he could get the address of his aunt living in Savannah. He got it, and immediately he flied for Savannah. In a short period of time, he reached over there at Savannah airport, parked his Cessna plane, and quickly stepped into a telephone booth. He tried the number as provided by the person. After a couple of rings, somebody received, and our author asked, "Anne Cardell?" I asked. "Yes." "Miss Cardell, my name is Gordon Livingston. I have thought a good deal about how to put this, but I haven't come up with any way but simply to say it. I am your son. I have come a long way. I would very much like to meet you." See now the situation, or in the psychological point of view, how the author felt when he heard the first voice of his mother, and the way he really put the matter in front of her. Just imagine the kind of mental condition of the lady. The author called. 2 times the bell or the phone rang. From the other end, as soon as the author asked, "May I speak to Anne Cardell?" immediately he got a response that yes, speaking, means his mother, Anne Simmons Cardell, was on the line. Our author introduced himself and said, "My name is Gordon Livingston. I have thought a good deal about how to put this, but I haven't come up with any way but simply to say it. I am your son. I have come a long way. I would very much like to meet you." Actually, The author was in a very difficult situation. He was in a dilemma. What to say, how to say, what to speak, how to put it. But he became straightforward later and straightaway introduced himself first that he is Gordon Livingston. And directly he tells her that I am your son. I came from a very long distance and I would like to meet you. Now you see the response from the other side. There was a pause before she answered in a southern accent which unaccountably surprised me. Yes, she said, there are many things I would like to talk to you about. When I arrived at the address, I found an apartment on a well-groomed street. In response to my knock, the door opened and there stood an attractive and dignified woman in her 60s. From behind glasses, she looked at me cautiously. She was a stranger. Please, come in, she said. See the condition. As soon as the author requested her that he happens to be her son, he has come from a long distance and now willing to meet her from the other side, the lady, that is his mother, Anne Cardell responded. After taking a long pause, she spoke in southern accent that was unaccountably surprising to the author, and she agreed. It means she said yes, she agreed for the meeting. Probably over the phone itself, she might have gave him the direction how to reach out over there. If you remember, the person at Natchez already provided the address of the lady. The author came down to the apartment where she was located or where she had her residence, and that was a very posh colony according to the author. He writes, I found an apartment on a well-groomed street. He approached the door, knocked at the door. His mother opened the door from inside. When he had the first glance over the mother, she was very attractive, a dignified woman in her 60s. From behind the glasses, she looked at the author, that is Gordon Livingston. In fact, she was a stranger for the author, and author was also a stranger to her. But they have the blood relationship. In a very melodious voice, she said, please come in. And the author was inside the apartment. Just try to understand the kind of mental situation of the author and that of the mother as well. So students, we have reached to a very important critical situation of the story, and I would prefer to reveal all the facts of the life of Livingston, that is Gordon S. Livingston, in my next class. And this is the real surprise of the story also, because as you know, whenever we listen to a story, if at all the ending is already known, we don't find anything interesting in the story. So we have reached to a very important stage in the story or development in the story, and that actually compels me that I should conclude the story only in the next full-fledged class, and ultimately you will come to know whether the lady whom he is going to see now is his real mother or not. Whether the lady whose name is mentioned here as Anne Cardell accepts him as his son or not. So I am not going to talk anything more about it, because that is the core of the entire lesson. And I would prefer to deal with this very important aspect in my next class, and probably in the next period I will be able to complete the lesson also. So I strongly believe that as other lessons you enjoyed a lot, you are equally enjoying this lesson also. So thank you very much for patient listening. See you in the next class tomorrow, and probably that will be the concluding class on Search for a Stranger.